Part 1. What are you reading, dear? Mom and I were relaxing in the living room after dinner. We had always been close, but ever since her divorce had been finalized, she seemed to put more effort into spending what she called quality time with me. There was nothing worth watching on TV, and my homework was done. I had started skimming through some catalogs she left on the end table looking for anything interesting. Just a catalog, Mom. Oh, which one? Let me see, Mallory. What a name I had. Supposedly I was named for the famous mountain climber who was an early explorer of Mount Everest, but the name always sounded more girlish than adventurous. I glanced down at what was in my hand, a glossy collection of trendy women's and girls' fashions. Worse, it was open to a page of intimate apparel. Blushing, I quickly shoved in between my back and the couch cushion. I kept silent. Maybe Mom would let the issue drop. Mallory, dear, I am not prying, but your acting guilty is not good. I want you to always be open and honest with me. Her look was loving, but controlling. I suspect something has been troubling you, and we should talk more. What did she think was troubling me? If only I could find a way to express my mixed-up feelings. But talking about personal topics was nearly impossible for me. Not feeling like a normal boy was difficult to discuss with anyone, but especially a parent. Maybe later, Mom. There was no way I was going to be able to honestly explain why I was looking at lingerie section of the catalog. I picked up one of my school books and pretended to be reading. Glancing up, I saw Mom looking directly at me. She seemed determined to wait me out. Two can play that game. After half an hour, she was still waiting for me to reveal the catalog, and I wouldn't be able to put off a bathroom call much longer either. She saw me looking up and demanded, "Show me what's behind you, dear." I gave up. Without saying anything, I pulled the catalog out from behind my back and held it out toward her. That's a start, dear. Now, what page were you looking at? Her look told me that resisting would do no good. I nervously opened it to the page of teen models posing in matching bras and panties. Mom glanced at the page, then sat down right next to me. Thank you, sweetie. There is nothing to be embarrassed about. It's perfectly normal for boys your age to wonder what girls have on underneath, she said with a wink. You know, before the internet, boys would sneak off to look through the bra section of the Sears Roebuck catalog that was in every home back then. I tried to turn away. Words choked up in my throat as I felt her hand on my cheek. It's not that at all, Mom, I said impulsively. I wasn't sure what I was denying, but I had to say something. What do you mean, not that? How do you feel when you look at pictures of pretty girls in their undies? Do you get a little rise between your legs? Oh, God. Mom always was totally open about sexual topics, much to my embarrassment. I paused and looked away. I was so mixed up about girls. I liked being around them, and all of my close friends at school were girls. I was usually uncomfortable whenever I found myself in an all-boy group, especially when the locker room talk started. The things they said about girls sounded gross to me. No. I mean that. It's just that I feel different. What was I saying? I know you spend a lot of time hanging out with girls at school. Your teachers and other mothers have mentioned this to me. Is there anyone you are starting to have fantasies about? A special girlfriend? Mom, I'm not into that. No? Most boys are by your age. It's okay. You can tell me anything. She looked into my eyes with concern. This is okay, whatever you answer. You said pictures of girls don't excite sexually. Is that right? I nodded silently. Well then, I need to ask if pictures of boys give you a tingle? Mom. I am not gay. I had never used that word around her before, but I knew what it meant. This conversation was spinning out of control, but I didn't know how to change the topic. It's a different feeling about girls. Yes, please keep talking. I see girls with beautiful hair wearing pretty clothes and wish. Yes, what do you wish? I couldn't bring myself to say it. Mom had a knowing look on her face. So let's see, you associate mostly with girls, you claim not to be turned on by pictures of girls, you claim not to have sexual fantasies about any of your girlfriends, or about boys either. But you seem to enjoy looking at pictures of girls modeling fashions. And I have noticed you even read some of my women's magazines. What is going on? By this time I was totally embarrassed. That at least seemed normal. No one I knew was really comfortable talking about sex with their parents. And Mom was prying more by the minute. Mallory, you have always been sweet, gentle, considerate, and never mean or tough like other boys. That has been important to me, and your behavior has been something I have encouraged. Mothers watch their children closely, and I have noticed a lot of things about you that I have wanted to talk about. You've been reluctant. I want you to know I love you for who you are. I was almost ready to cry. I had always tried to keep my feelings private, but some hints must have slipped though. How could I talk with her about something I did not understand myself? Why don't you put your things away for the evening, then come back and we can finish our little chat? She gave me a tight hug, then headed into the kitchen. She was obviously giving me a chance to collect my thoughts. I must have seemed totally clumsy as I absent-mindedly picked up around the living room. Thoughts raced through my head. I was trying to figure out what she suspected already, and what I was willing to tell her. I was mixed up about my identity but was not ready to out myself either. I was in a daze when Mom came back from the kitchen and indicated I should sit down. Instinctively I sat with my knees together and ankles crossed and put my hands in my lap. Mallory, dear. It is always hard for children to talk to their parents, but I want you to try to be open. Okay, dear? Why, yes. Girls have an easier time opening up to their mothers as they enter their teen years, and Mom always seemed to be addressing me as dear and sweetie. Was this her way of telling me something? You have been closer to me than typical for a boy. I appreciate that. I also appreciate your interests in reading, music, and art. I appreciate your willingness to accept kisses and hugs from me. I appreciate your good taste in clothes and your willingness to help around the house. You are a child I am proud of. Why did she use child, not son? I wasn't sure where this was leading and I started fidgeting in my chair. I have been putting this conversation off, but I need to really talk to you something that I have been suspecting. Tonight, you already implied some very important things when we talked about the pictures in the catalog. This little talk seemed to be about much more than the catalog. Mom always seemed to notice every detail about me, even things I tried to keep private. She seemed as nervous as I was as she took my hands in hers and looked deeply into my eyes. Mallory, have you ever wished you were a girl? Her question hit me like a hammer. I knew she was right, but had never been willing to admit this even to myself. My eyes started to get misty. I don't know. She hugged me as I started to cry softly. I had not answered directly, but my secret was out. I love you, dear, whatever you do. Remember that." We sat close together for a long while. Finally, she spoke again. "You know, I always wanted a daughter, but was not able to have more children. Maybe you could be my make-believe daughter for a while." The idea excited me, but I was too confused and embarrassed to say so. "My, it's late. Time for you to get to bed, sweetie." I staggered to my room in a daze. Could that conversation have been real? What did she think about me now, and what was she going to do about it? I sat on the edge of my bed to think. Could she have been right? Did I really wish I had been born a girl? I thought about my hopes and dreams over the years. Since kindergarten, I always preferred to be with the girls, and the teachers used to pressure me to play with the boys during recess. As I grew older, I mastered acting like a boy in school, but never really felt like one. And my nighttime dreams usually involved either my being one of the girls or else being punished for acting like a sissy. Looking back, I realized that all the disapproval of my behavior came from Dad. Thank goodness he had been largely gone from my life for the last few years, and now was gone forever. Mom never criticized my behavior. Thinking back, it seemed like she had always been gently encouraging me to become more feminine. She used girl terms like sweetie when addressing me whenever we were talking privately. She had taught me to cook and help with the housework. She had given me gender-neutral or even effeminate clothes for Christmas and my birthday. She always made sure there was plenty of girlish reading material around where I could find it. Still, I had never openly admitted I wanted to be a girl, not even tonight. The most I had been able to bring myself to say was a tearful "I don't know." After a long while, I went into the small bathroom attached to my bedroom and started to take a shower. I needed to calm down and get some sleep. Suddenly, I heard the bedroom door open. "I put something for you on your bed. Try it on only if you want to. Good night, dear. See you in the morning." I heard the door latch click and decided it was safe to come out of the bathroom. Nervously, I looked for what Mom had put on the bed. She had laid out a delicate, frilly, feminine nightgown. The pink fabric was smooth and silky, and the low-cut neckline had a lace collar. Where did this come from? Of course, I remembered that Mom bought lots of sexy outfits while she was trying to hang on to my father. This must have been one she had not tossed out. She was tempting me and testing me. That was for sure. Mom knew that I had a hard time expressing myself, and that I would find it much easier to act out my wishes than to talk about them right now. She would be checking me out at breakfast. If I wore the nightgown, I'd be admitting to both myself and to her that I wanted to experience being a girl. I was more agitated than I had been before I took a shower. I was afraid to try on the nightgown. But what would happen if I wore my regular boy pajamas tonight? I was afraid she might never give me another chance like this one. Finally, I walked to the bed, picked the gown up, lifted it over my head, and let the fabric slide down my body. The sensation of the smooth fabric against my skin was a totally new experience. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw an ambiguous image. I was still young enough to have not started developing any hair on my face or chest, and the gown did make me look somewhat feminine. On the other hand, my hair was longish, but cut boy style. I tried rearranging it, and that helped a bit. The gown was a baby doll style designed to make a woman look like a little Lolita girl, so it really was effective given my youthful appearance. I turned sideways and regretted I did not fill out the curves that the gown was obviously designed to highlight. Unsatisfied, I dropped onto my bed. How was I going to answer her questions in the morning? What I was wearing in bed was an undeniable fact, but I wasn't sure about my emotions. What I was doing seemed both pleasurable and wrong at the same time. Well, maybe not wrong, but dangerous. I thought about changing out of the gown before breakfast, but decided that was futile. Mom would ask anyway. Maybe Mom was setting some kind of a trap for me. Maybe she knew me so well that she had guessed my most private thoughts. Maybe. After a while I dozed off. The alarm clock sounded and I felt the thin fabric of the baby doll nightgown encasing my body as I slid out of bed. What a sensation! I saw myself in the mirror as I walked into the bathroom. Flat chest and boyish rear end for sure, but the person in the mirror still looked like a cute girl. Suddenly terror gripped me. I would soon have to face Mom over breakfast. Last night Mom had tested me by leaving a pretty nightgown on my bed, and I knew she was wondering if I had taken the bait. What I wore to breakfast would express a lot without words. After our intense conversation last night, I still was not ready to say outright that I wanted to be a girl. Talking about personal thoughts was always hard for me, and Mom knew that when she gave me the opportunity to express myself by making a choice of sleepwear. Now I was confronted by my next step. I debated my options, admit what I had done by wearing the gown to breakfast, switch into my regular pajamas and try to pretend that is what I had slept in, or get dressed in my school clothes and try to avoid the issue. After some hesitation I decided to throw my terry cloth bathrobe over the nightgown and head to the kitchen. The robe would protect my privacy, but Mom would still figure out what I was wearing. I looked at myself in the mirror and decided to make a stronger statement. I brushed my hair down in front so it looked like I had bangs. Next I opened the collar of my robe a bit so that the plunging neckline of the gown showed underneath. I took a deep breath and headed to the kitchen. I knew that my appearance would open the inevitable conversation. Mom checked me out as I sat down for breakfast, and I could not help notice a very approving smile. I always put a lot of effort into pleasing her. If my wearing the nightgown made both of us happy, what was wrong with that? Good morning, dear. Did you sleep like a princess? How could I answer that? I just looked down and started eating. To my amazement, she did not say anything more about what I was wearing. Nor did she follow up about our conversation last night when she had explicitly asked me if I ever wished I had been born a girl. I had burst into tears and responded with I don't know. This morning she was giving me some emotional space. Our breakfast ended with her urging me to get dressed and head for school. Although she had not said so, she was clearly pleased with my choosing to wear the gown. That evening I helped fix dinner, and Mom did not bring up our conversation from last night. I was grateful that she was not pressing the issue because I certainly did not feel comfortable talking about it right now. When I sat down in the living room, I noticed a couple of current issue Teen Girl magazines were laying on the end table. She obviously had purchased them today and was testing me again. I ignored the magazines and started my homework. Eventually, a combination of interest, curiosity, and a desire to see how Mom would react won out. With the most girlish hand gesture that I could manage, I picked one of the magazines up, glancing at Mom as I opened it. She was smiling. I started reading the makeup styles section in the magazine. Soon I noticed Mom coming back into the room with a shopping bag. She looked at what I was reading, and this time I did not try to hide it. Don't her nails look pretty? I thought you would enjoy some new reading material to look at, she teased. She handed me the shopping bag. I got you some new sleepwear today. The gown I loaned you last night was way too mature for your age, so I did some shopping in the juniors department. I opened the bag and found two smooth, silky pastel nightgowns. They were somewhat plain, but still delightfully feminine. Thank you, Mom, was all I could say as she hugged me. A few nights later, I was heading into the living room after dinner and Mom asked, "Anything you want to talk about, dear?" Her tone of voice told me exactly what she meant. "No," I replied in response. Mom asked me to come to her bedroom after I finished doing my homework. I rarely went in there anymore, and I wondered what she wanted. She was sitting at her makeup table as I came through the door. "Since you don't want to continue our conversation, I thought I should give a chance to act out your interests. Take your shoes and socks off and sit on the other chair, princess." "What's this all about?" She was addressing me with girly terms again, and she was really enjoying it. As I slipped off my shoes, I saw her sorting through bottles of nail polish. Was she going to give me your foot? Yes, like that. How would you like to have pretty toenails like all the other girls at your school? How could I answer that question? What did she mean by saying other girls like I was one of them too? I was still confused and not ready to admit to her that I looked at the girls at school with envy, not romantic interest. Still, she seemed to suspect something. I kept silent for a bit too long. Silly. Are you afraid someone will find out? No one will know as long as you keep your socks on. How about this one, a nice shade of red? I blushed. Perfect, it almost matches your complexion. I want to give you more opportunities to explore your feminine side. If you go along with it, I will know you are enjoying the experience, even when you are tongue-tied. Without waiting for my answer, she moved into action. Foam blocks separated my toes and the smell of nail polish filled the room. She expertly did each toe, chatting all the while. I relaxed and let her work on my toes. Occasionally we exchanged glances that spoke volumes. Finally she was done and the polish was dry. There, done. Those toes look so cute and pretty. Maybe you will really get into pedicures and even invite some of your girlfriends over to see the results. I think you would like that, wouldn't you? Well, off to bed, my dear. As I headed to my room, I started to wonder what I had gotten myself into. I was enjoying these experiences, but was also concerned. I was afraid of things going out of control, but more afraid that Mom would change her mind and make me go back to total boy mode 24/7. For now, Mom seemed to be pushing me even farther into femininity. Sitting in class the next day, my mind kept wandering to the secret of what was inside my shoes. I bounced between wishing I could show my toes to the girls and dreading what would happen if any of the boys found out. Maybe I could just tell just one person that I really trusted. I liked Anne-Marie White. Could she keep the secret? A few days later, Mom had a pile of shopping bags piled on the dining table when I got home from school. My curiosity increased when I noticed one of the bags was from a teen fashion place where she would have been unlikely to be shopping for herself. I decided to continue my usual routine, do some homework, then put on an apron and start helping prepare dinner. As I suspected would happen, Mom came to the living room after dinner bringing several bags with her. "Mallory, I've been thinking of how much interest you showed in the girls' clothing catalogs and fashion magazines. I also know you have been sleeping in the pretty gowns I got for you. Maybe we can explore your interests a bit more," she said with a sly smile. "Go ahead, look at what I bought." I nervously started to open the bags. I took out a pair of jeans that were distinctly girl style with narrow legs and an embroidered design on the rear pockets. Next I found a girl's blouse made from a thin, smooth floral print fabric. A fancy belt completed the outfit. Mom spoke first, which was good. Somehow, I couldn't figure out what to say about these clothes. "I thought you should have some more stylish things to wear around the house in the evening. Try the jeans on, I bet they will make your butt look cute." Slightly embarrassed by her last remark, I took the clothes and headed into my room to change. This started a new pattern for my days: boy clothes at school and then girls' casual wear at home. Over the next few weeks she kept adding more feminine shoes, jeans, and tops to my evening choices. She got me plenty of high-cut panties so I would not have to wear jockey shorts as a poor substitute. I was enjoying the experience, and so was Mom. One evening I was again looking through the bra and panty section of a catalog, and this time I was making no effort to hide what I was reading. I figured that Mom knew and approved. Mom walked up beside me, glanced over my shoulder, then looked amused. "I see by your interest in lingerie that it's time for my little girl to get her first bra." That remark caught me off guard. "What?" "Mallory, princess, you know your tops would fit better if you filled them out a bit. All the other girls your age are showing some curves by now." She was clearly enjoying my momentary embarrassment and teasing me too. Let me get something I have been saving for the right moment. Suddenly I realized how far this all had gone. Her remark about other girls confirmed my growing suspicion that she was starting to think of me as some kind of substitute daughter for the girl she always wished she had. I turned as she came back. "This bra is a padded AA. It's something that will fit your flat chest, but enough to give you a hint of development." She paused to watch my reaction. "We both enjoy your acting like a girl. Do your mother a big favor and allow her to fit her daughter with a first bra. Please take off your shirt, darling." I was speechless. Mom watched me undress. She slipped the bra straps over my arms and spun me around so she could fasten the clasp. As she adjusted the strap length, my mind was bouncing between excitement over what I was wearing and sheer terror over what might happen next. "Now, princess, I want to see you take it off and put it back on by yourself." She giggled as I struggled with my arms behind my back. Finally, I figured out the trick of getting it fastened. I put my blouse back on and walked over to the mirror to look at my profile while Mom watched. "Mallory, this is the new you. From now on I want you to wear a bra whenever you are wearing girl clothes at home." I sat back down and tucked my legs under me girl style and went back to my reading. Thankfully, Mom seemed to be done playing mind games with me for the evening. Eventually I put my homework away and went to bed. For the next few weeks I did as she asked and changed into a bra and panties as soon as I got home from school. Usually I just wore girl-styled jeans and a sweater or blouse on top. She slowly continued to add to my collection: some makeup, a necklace pendant, a new bra. Femininity was the common theme of the gifts, and she had the knack of buying the right size and colors for me. Mom had gotten me some skirts, but they seemed too dressy for just hanging around the house. I still had mixed feelings about all this, and tried to convince myself I was just doing it to please Mom. Still, I wondered what it would be like to be publicly accepted as a girl. Mom coached me in feminine mannerisms as well. After a few weeks I could actually give a bit of swish to my skirt as I walked with my fingers relaxed and my wrists bent. Moving like a girl still took concentration and effort, but I was getting better. It was wonderful having this private secret at home and pretending to be Mom's adoring daughter. Then one night I woke from a frightening dream. I had been running down the street being chased by boys who kept shouting about how I looked just like Fairy Girl, and when my head cleared I decided this had gone too far and I resolved to stop dressing like a girl. Even though I only did it at home, I had a sense that this was dangerous, and bad things would happen if anyone found out. What if we accidentally left the front curtains open or someone came to the door? The next few evenings I stayed in my boy clothes after school, and wore boy pajamas to bed. Mom noticed, but did not say anything. talking about personal thoughts was still very difficult for me. Mom did not push the issue, but I knew she was unhappy about no longer seeing bra lines under my shirts or my daily change of panties in the laundry. I had made a resolution to put the dress-up games behind me forever and was going to stick to it. After a week or so, I started missing the experience of being a girl in the evening. Those times with Mom had been really nice. I would start to remember how nice the clothes in my closet felt. My thoughts kept coming back to my former idea of sharing my feminine identity with someone my age like Anne-Marie. I enjoyed the fantasy of being accepted as a real girl by friends my age. These thoughts conflicted with my resolution to go back to boy mode full-time and increased my confusion. Somehow I needed to resolve what I wanted. Mom must have noticed my increasing uneasiness and indecision, but she took her time. We were cleaning up after dinner when she finally forced the issue. "Mallory, you have a lot of pretty clothes. Why have you only been wearing drab boy stuff?" I looked at her, but couldn't find the right words. I just walked gracefully back to my bedroom, opened my drawer, took out a bra, and started to put it on. As I reached behind to fasten the hooks, I glanced to see Mom standing in the doorway smiling. Mom had been gradually feminizing me in the privacy of our home. First toenail polish, then girls' sleepwear, and next panties and padded bras. After my futile attempt to go back to boy 24/7, I began to accept my feminine side as being the real me. My name had ceased to be a source of embarrassment and now was a symbol of my secret self. Every week Mom seemed to find a way to lead me one more step along a path that I had never imagined I would sashay down. She had taught me to walk like a girl, and I loved going around the house with a skirt swinging sideways with each step. Inside I felt more and more like a girl, but no one but Mom and I knew about all this. I really wanted to share my experience, but how could I show or tell anyone, and more importantly, who could I trust with my secret? Finally, I decided to take a chance. Anne-Marie White was one of my favorite classmates, and I suspected she could keep a secret. We were in several classes together, including a dance exercise class at the end of the day. I had written down dance as my option when choosing phys ed electives for the current quarter. This raised a few eyebrows with both teachers and classmates. At first, one queen bee in the class remarked I was taking a girls-only class. The teacher overheard the remark, and the principal had responded by posting a letter in the studio citing the district's non-discrimination policy. That resolved the issues with the teachers and the girls, but didn't help me in the boys' locker room. Since the class was the end of the day, I found it far easier to pull on a set of sweats in the dance studio and head for home. Of course, since I kept my toenails painted, I had to wear opaque socks to school in the morning and keep them on during dance class. One day I timed my exit from the school so that Anne-Marie and I started down the stairs together. Like most girls in my grade, she was showing considerable development, and today she had been wearing a tight leotard that showed the outlines of what was underneath. It made me jealous, but not in any way lustful. How many boys could say that? I always have had a hard time opening a conversation, so we just walked side by side for a while. I supposed she knew something was up, but figured that the guy should make the first move. She was wearing running shoes for the walk home, but I usually saw her feet as she changed shoes at the end of dance class. This week she had been wearing a medium red nail polish, and last night I put on the closest match I had in the limited selection of colors Mom had gotten for me. I wanted to say I noticed her nails, but was afraid of her reaction. "Do you want to say something?" Great, I thought, now she has taken control of the conversation. I figured I needed to respond, but must have stayed silent too long. Anne-Marie looked right at me. "You know, I noticed something in dance class. Sometimes you almost move like a girl." "Don't take that wrong. I mean that you are graceful and find the emotion in the dance theme." Thank you, I whispered. I didn't say anything more and we just walked silently until we reached the corner where we turned in different directions to continue home. The next day I was surprised to see Anne-Marie heading out the school door just behind me. I had not tried leave the building with her, so it was either a coincidence or she had again taken the initiative. So, do you want to talk now? I kept walking silently for a long time. Here was my chance and I was about to blow it again. Finally, I forced the words out of my mouth. Can you keep a secret? What's this all about? Please? Okay, promise, secret forever. So what's up? I signaled that she should follow me and she did. I sat down on the edge of a low concrete wall and started to untie my shoes. Without saying anything, I pulled off my stocking and flashed my bright red toenails. Cute. So what is going on? You must have been looking at my toes the other day because it almost matches my color. Is this some idea of a joke? I shook my head as I put my shoe back on. Does your mom know about this? I nodded. Mallory, you have always been a bit of a sissy, always hanging out with the girls. I'm okay with that, and I will still be your friend even if you paint your toenails. You know, when you started walking home with me, I thought you were working up to asking me for a date. I guess you are a different kind of boy. Once again, I had chosen to show something that I could not say. I kept silent but really wanted to speak. Maybe this time I would dare to say something more. After all, my goal had been to have someone my age I could share feeling with. What other girly things do you do? I looked into her eyes but couldn't figure out what to say. Please, Mallory, it's okay for you to talk about it. With real effort, I finally continued. You'll keep this a secret? I looked at her and saw a supportive smile. I wear girls' clothes while I help Mom fix dinner and afterward when I do my homework, and... Really? The look in her eyes suggested she was becoming fascinated. I want to see this for myself. I am not sure I am ready for that yet. Anyway, it would have to be at my place. Mom only lets me wear girls' clothes at home. I was finally speaking up. I suppose your mom lets you wear a nightgown too? I have a couple real pretty ones. Just as the conversation got going, we reached the corner where our routes separated. As I watched her stroll away, I was amazed that I finally succeeded at sharing my secret. After the episode with Anne-Marie, I continued the routine Mom had set up: boys' clothes at school and when going someplace public, girls' clothes on evenings and weekends. Mom was endlessly supportive about all this. She had also started to buy me some pants and shirts that were somewhere between unisex and slightly feminine. She encouraged me to wear these outfits in public. I kept thinking about sharing my real self with Anne-Marie again, but was startled when Mom again seemed to know what I was thinking. Mallory, you really need some friends your age who can help your socialization. I looked at her with a blank stare. Your only knowledge of how to be a girl comes from reading magazines and imitating me. Other girls your age have friends who they share experiences with. Wouldn't that be nice? What do you mean other girls my age? I asked. Dear, you are becoming more of a girl every week. Isn't that marvelous? Just then the doorbell rang. Can you get it, Mallory? I hesitated and decided there was no choice. I was wearing a shirt that buttoned right over left, but otherwise was basically plain. I hoped that the loose cut, opaque fabric, and dark print were enough to hide my lightly padded bra. My jeans were likewise neutral, except for being a bit tight and having some embroidery on the back pockets. If I was lucky, whoever was there would either be a stranger, or at least not notice anything too unusual. "Hello, Mallory." It was Anne-Marie's mother. This was a disaster. "Good evening, Mrs. White," I responded feebly. "My, you look charming, Mallory," she said. Mom walked into the entryway as I stepped aside to let Mrs. White in. "Well, Marjorie, you child is certainly getting into a new role." Mallory turned sidewise. "I want to see your profile." I wanted to die on the spot. Anne-Marie had obviously betrayed me. Not only had her mother noticed what I was wearing, she seemed to be expecting it. I turned in a slouch, trying my best to hide. "Mallory, you need to be proud of who you are. Now fix your posture and give Mrs. White a big girl smile." I hesitated. Mom was clearly amused. "Your friend didn't give away your secret, I did. I know you and Anne-Marie have been walking home together every day, and it didn't take me long to guess that you were looking for a best female friend your own age. I called Mary White and asked her if she would be bothered by you showing your girl side to Anne-Marie. She thought this was a delightful idea, so I invited her over for a preview. What could I do? I straightened my back and pulled my shoulder blades together, making my padded bra show some shape. Remembering how Mom had taught me, I next turned toward Mrs. White, put one hand on my slightly raised hip, and gave a cheesy smile. Marvelous. SHE is so obedient. It's going to be neat having her as my daughter's friend. I wasn't sure I liked where this was heading at the moment. I wasn't sure what to expect, but Mallory really has potential as a girl. She has nice facial features, but a little makeup would really help. I think that it is wonderful when little boys get petticoat. Mallory is into girls' sportswear, not petticoats, Mom joked. Marjorie, you really must let me take Mallory and Anne-Marie shopping sometime. Maybe we could even stop in a salon for makeovers. I don't think he is ready for a salon treatment or even going out in public dressed as a girl. Remember, Mallory is still going to school in boy mode. But I'm sure a shopping trip would be an adventure. What do you say, dear? I stood there too shocked to say anything for a moment. I had to admit that the compliments from Mrs. White were a confidence booster. Once again, I kept silent and just nodded. Anne-Marie was bubbling with anticipation as we left school the next day. Mom told me how cute you looked last night. I wish I could have been there, but she insisted I stay home. How do you feel about girl-type shopping with us this weekend? Scared, I whispered. Instead of turning at the corner, she continued with me toward my house. My mother said I could spend some time with you this afternoon. I want to see the real Mallory. Mom was excited when she saw us, and she ignored the anxiety that I am sure I was showing. Really wanted Anne-Marie to see my other self, but also afraid that this would be going too far. Before I could chicken out, Mom took the lead. Anne-Marie, you can wait in the living room while Mallory changes out of school clothes. Hurry back, Mallory. I went to my room. My nervousness combined with Anne-Marie's urging to hurry meant that there was no time to agonize over what combination to wear. I just changed underwear, slipped on a bra, and grabbed some jeans and a top. Looking back, it was not a well-matched outfit. Just something a girl might wear around the house, but I did add a touch of makeup. Facing the inevitable, I used my best girl walk to enter the living room and was welcomed by two smiling faces. Anne-Marie clearly approved, and we spent the next hour chatting like a couple of normal girls. I heard Mom on the phone and guessed she was talking to Mrs. White. Hi, just called to let you know they are over here having a good time. Yes, Anne-Marie clearly likes what she sees. Everything is going just like I expected. A shopping trip? How about on Saturday the 15th? Yes, I will be sure Anne-Marie gets home for dinner time. Anne-Marie looked at me. See, my mother and I both like your girl side. I want to see you like this again. Anne-Marie continued the routine of stopping at my house after school, and I was getting used to acting completely like a girl around her. I even started to plan my after-school outfits the evening before and have things laid out in my room so I wouldn't have to waste time when changing. The experience of being accepted by someone my age was reassuring, and I started to fantasize about what it would be like to go out in public as a girl. As the 15th approached, I kept thinking about the upcoming trip to the mall. I wasn't sure exactly what would happen, but I hoped everything would go okay. My worst fear was being seen by boys from my school. At least my indecision about what to wear was resolved for me by a phone call to Mom. Dear, Mrs. White phoned to tell me that she wants you dressed in your best school clothes. Total boy mode when you leave for the mall tomorrow. I thought we were going to be shopping in girls' stores. This will be your first time out in public. Boys get dragged along on shopping trips all the time, so your being with them will not seem at all unusual. She knows best, so do as you are asked. Mom looked at me with a sly grin, but it will be okay if you want to wear pretty panties underneath. Mrs. White arrived as scheduled early on Saturday morning and checked me out with a careful inspection. Mom came up beside me. Please don't embarrass Mallory too much today. Marjorie, if Mallory is going to continue with all this SHE is going to have to develop self-confidence. I told you this will be a low-key chance to see what girls do when shopping in the mall. Everything will go just fine. You're sure? Marjorie, I've already talked to a couple of store managers that I know. They assured me they are totally okay with cross-dressing boys. I wasn't sure I liked what I had just heard, but I had agreed to the shopping trip. I certainly did not want to disappoint everyone by backing out at the last minute. I got into the car with Mrs. White and Anne-Marie and we drove off. As promised, they did not embarrass me. Anyone who saw us as we wandered through the stores would have thought that a girl was dragging her boyfriend along shopping, nothing more. It was great fun looking at everything and having Anne-Marie whispering fashion tips at my ear. And Marie and I were looking at casual slacks when Mrs. White came up behind me. Those look cute. You should try them on. I suddenly realized she was talking to me, not her daughter. How can I? This is a women's store. Don't worry. The clerks are on commission and want to make a sale. Follow me. She headed toward the changing room with Anne-Marie giving me a shove from behind. Mrs. White handed the slacks back to me right in front of the salesgirl who smiled as we approached the booths. Go ahead. I closed the door, took off my boy pants, and tried on the girl's slacks. Not a bad fit, I thought as I looked over my shoulder at the mirror. Now what model them for Anne-Marie? I decided to change back and just say that they fit. Anne-Marie and her mom looked disappointed when I reappeared with the slacks over my arm and started to put them back on the rack. If they fit, I will buy them for you, my treat. What could I say? I handed them to her and hoped that would be the end of it. Instead, she led me over to a display of frilly tops. Anne-Marie picked up one and held it in front of me. Looks cute. I have one almost like it. Just then the store manager walked up. Finding everything, girls? Mrs. White answered. This is Mallory, who I told you about on the phone. He is new at shopping for pretty clothes, but my daughter is helping him. I wanted to sink into the floor. Instead, Anne-Marie was ushering me toward the change room with several tops dangling from their hangers. Finally, they decided I had experienced enough for one day. They drove me back home and dropped me off. Anne-Marie gave me a hug as I got out of the car. "You did well today. Maybe the next time you can be more of a girl when we go shopping." "I don't think I am ready to wear a dress in public," I protested. "Well, you have plenty of cute slacks and tops now," Anne-Marie teased. "See you soon." Mom was watching as I walked in with several shopping bags. "Did you have fun, dear?" I did not say anything. Mom looked right at me. "Mallory, my dearest, if you are going to continue all this, you need to open up and talk about it. Okay?" Our standoff continued for a while. Mom was gently hinting and pushing me onward, and I kept finding myself confused and unable to talk about it. I clearly was becoming more comfortable acting like her daughter while at home and treasured out evenings together. I also enjoyed having Anne-Marie in on the secret and was wondering when we could next go out in public together. One evening I was sitting in the living room looking for something to read when I noticed a magazine open to an article about a transgendered teenage boy and the issues regarding his starting treatments. I knew this was no coincidence. Mom had figured out that leaving some reading material out where I could find it was a great lead-in when wanted to get me to talk about something. I nervously picked up the magazine and started to read. I had heard some of the terms before, but most of the information was totally new to me. It was fascinating to see what modern medicine could do, but how did all this apply to me? She walked in and I put the magazine back down. "Did you find that interesting, dear?" Once again, I was at a loss for words. "Mallory, you clearly have a feminine side and we both enjoy every minute you spend as a girl. Right now you have some wonderful options, but you are soon going to have to make a decision about your future. I think it would be a tragedy if you waited to decide until after your voice changed and you grew a beard. Puberty is going to come soon. Should we talk to a doctor about this and see if you want to slow things down to give you time to think?" That brought tears to my eyes and I ran into my room. "Mallory, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. We can talk again when you are ready. Go to sleep, sweetie." I watched her gently close my door. "Love you, Mom," was all I could answer. For months Mom had been encouraging me to be a girl at home, and now Anne-Marie White and her mother were partners in my feminization process. Anne-Marie was my best friend at school, and she often came over to my house. She was always delighted when I changed from school clothes into girl mode. We would chat, do homework, and spend time together like a couple of normal girls. She seemed to understand why I was still dressing as a boy for school, but I know she preferred being with my girl personality. I was still somewhat upset by the time when Mom suggested we talk to a doctor about my identity. She clearly had been implying she wanted me to take drugs to delay puberty so I would have time to think. That idea scared me. I had finished reading the article Mom had planted and I learned that blocking drugs were supposed to be reversible. Still, even talking to a doctor seemed like taking the first step toward permanent change. That scared me. I was walking home from school with Anne-Marie as usual when she asked me to come over to her house for lunch on Saturday. "And of course I expect you to dress nicely. You know what I mean," she added with a smile. "But Mom only lets me wear girl clothes at home." "Silly, both your mother and mine have been encouraging you to start going out in public as a girl. You have just been too afraid to see the hints. Do you really expect me to walk through the neighborhood in a dress? Well, you have some nice, totally androgynous outfits that you can wear outside. Of course I will still know what you have on underneath." She turned at the corner and I watched her hips swing as she walked toward home. I wished I had a figure like that. When I mentioned the invitation to Mother, she was of course totally enthusiastic. When Saturday came, I decided to wear panties and a bra but covered by something approximating gender neutral. I selected a pair of dark slacks and a high-collar sweater. Androgynous, but purchased from the juniors department. On my feet were rounded toe, black, low-heel shoes over smooth opaque socks. At the last minute I debated whether to add a light blue scarf. That made the outfit too girlish. I decided I wasn't comfortable wearing something that feminine in public, so I left the scarf. Before I headed out, Mom brushed my shaggy hair and shaped it with some hairspray into an ambiguous, unisex style. I was a bit disappointed I did not yet have more hair for her to work with. I took a deep breath, opened the front door, and headed to Anne-Marie's house. This was my first time alone in public wearing such girlish clothes. The short walk was without incident, and Anne-Marie was delighted to see me. I was ready to get back inside, but instead of welcoming me, Anne-Marie revealed other plans. Let's walk over to the corner drugstore. I need to pick up a few things, and it will be fun going with you. She checked me out once more. Don't worry, you look just fine. The look in her eyes convinced me I had no choice but to go with her. Her house was at the edge of a neighborhood shopping district, so we had to walk only a few blocks. We did not encounter any other pedestrians, but a few people in passing cars did turn their heads as they passed us. Arriving at the drugstore, Anne-Marie headed straight for the display of earrings. I stood beside her watching with interest as she scanned the display. Those are some pretty ones, Anne-Marie. Gold hoops and small round pearls are my favorites, but these would be a nice change. You know, Mallory, it would be really neat if you got your ears pierced. Then we could share earrings. No way, remember I still am a boy at school, I protested in a whisper. Maybe someday, but not just yet. I was just teasing. Let's go look at the cosmetics. Once again I was jealously watching as she wandered along the aisle. I occasionally experimented with Mom's makeup, but not regularly. Mom had pointed out that girls my age generally did not wear makeup every day. Looking for anything special, girls? I turned and saw an attractive girl a few years older than us wearing a store jacket and name badge. Before I could say anything, Anne-Marie took the lead. Just browsing. I thought the crisis was over, then she added, I am encouraging my friend here to quit being such a tomboy. I think she should start wearing a bit of makeup. Well, have fun. Let me know if you have any questions. As the clerk headed off, I asked, why did you have to say that? Look, it gave you cover. She thought you were a girl and I reinforced the impression. Now you better play along and buy something. With Anne-Marie's help, I ended up selecting a light pink shade of lipstick and matching nail polish. I went up to the counter, paid, and left without further incident. We were almost back to Anne-Marie's house when I saw a couple of boys from our school heading toward us. One was definitely a bully, and had made nasty comments about my taking dance exercise for my phys ed class. He had been reprimanded after the principal had enforced the school non-discrimination and non-harassment policy, but I am sure his attitude hadn't changed. Worse, what I was wearing today was much more feminine than anything I ever wore for school. Well, it's the two pretty ballerinas. Having fun, girls? I ignored him and looked straight ahead. Anne-Marie was more assertive. You guys don't even know the difference between ballet and modern dance. Besides, I bet you are jealous because you muscle-bound jocks don't have any flexibility. I turned toward Anne-Marie as they headed off. Having them see me like this is going to make it harder for me at school. What you are wearing is unisex. Lots of boys wear similar things all the time. I still get a lot of rude comments at school. I looked at her. I don't want everyone to think I am a sissy or gay. Mallory, you enjoy your girl side, and I now think of you as a girlfriend. Honestly, you are a girl inside, not a sissy. You can't stay in the closet forever. What do you mean? I want you to be honest with yourself. If that means being a girl in public, that is what you should do. Mom suggested we talk to a doctor about treatments to keep me from growing a beard and... Malloy, that would be so awesome. My mom talked to me about the options available for boys like you, so I know a little about what your mom was saying. I would be there to help you every step of the way. I'm so confused about all this. Thanks for your support. My eyes were misty as we arrived at Anne-Marie's house. Mrs. White had fixed lunch while we were out and led us into the kitchen. Sitting around the table, Anne-Marie told her mother all the details of our shopping trip. Mrs. White listened intently, then looked right at me. Mallory, we all love you just as you are and want you to be happy. You have such a wonderful feminine side just waiting to blossom. If you came out and asserted who you really are, most people would accept that. The few bigots who are hostile really don't matter. Don't let that incident with those boys upset you. The next week I was cleaning house when Mom put down the phone and turned toward me. Mrs. White said she was really pleased with the way you have been handling yourself on the shopping trips. Last month you were willing to try on girls' clothes at the mall, and last Saturday you were able to deal with being recognized by boys from your school. She thinks you are ready to go out for a girl date. She suggested the four of us have a restaurant dinner next weekend. I'm not sure. What would I wear? Mallory, you are ready to go public in full girl mode. I bought you several nice dresses, and your hair is long enough to style. You will pass marvelously. On the big day, Mom started getting me ready in the afternoon. It started with a long soaking bath, followed by shaving off the little peach fuzz I had. She had purchased a heavily padded bra that gave me noticeable shape, and we agreed that was to be my foundation. I put on a slip and sat down in her room so she could style my hair and apply some tasteful makeup. Sitting with my knees together and my hand in my lap while Mom fussed made me feel delightfully feminine. Finally, I put on a simple, but fashionable dress and medium-height heels. Most of my girl time had been spent in casual sportswear, and this was my first experience being so elegant. Now remember how to walk and hold your wrists, Mom said as she admired the results. I am sure your dance classes will help you move gracefully tonight. That evening the four of us met at a quiet but fancy restaurant. Mrs. White and Anne-Marie both wore dresses that were elegant without being excessive. Anyone who looked would think they were seeing two ladies taking their daughters to a big music concert or dance performance. It was still early and the restaurant was still almost empty. The lighting was muted and candles were on all the tables. There was a romantic feel, and the place reminded me of the marriage proposal scenes in chick flick movies. Mom and I had been watching a lot of movies like that lately. I got a thrill of the waiter referring to us as ladies as he directed us to our table. I guess I passed that test. After carefully going through the menu, we all ordered low-calorie appetizers followed by light entrees. Anne-Marie teased me about my choice. It looks like you have decided to start watching your figure like the rest of us. Mom spoke before I could answer. Don't you all think Mallory has made amazing progress in discovering a new self? Yes, Mallory has started to move, talk, and act just like a natural girl. I am so glad our daughters, I mean our children, have become friends. Anne-Marie chimed in, I used to think of you as a neat boy who danced and liked fashion. Now I think of you as an awesome girl. You really handled yourself well when I told the store manager about your cross-dressing at the mall, Mrs. White added. People will accept you when you express your feminine self. The conversation about the new me continued for a long while. After we had finished eating, Mom looked around the table but focused right at me. Well, Mallory, I think it is time for you to open up about your feelings. Your actions tell us a lot, but we all want you to be able to talk about it, too. Please, Mallory. Your opening up will help us relate better when we spend time together. It will be fun. I said that I will help you deal any with issues at school. You need to make some decisions soon or nature will make them for you, Mom added. Would you like to spend full time as a girl? Anne-Marie was the one who asked the crucial question. I knew what was coming. I took a deep breath and prepared myself mentally. Yes, and I whispered so softly that no one was sure what I was saying. I could see everyone wanted me to say more, but I was choking up. The three of us all accept you for whoever you are, dear. That said, I think you realize we all think that you are at your best when you allow your femininity to blossom through your outward shell. As your mother, I know that your interests and personality have never been masculine. I looked from Mom toward Anne-Marie and back. I was sure Anne-Marie was giggling but trying to look serious. This was it. I had to say what I had been feeling more and more. I wish I had been born a girl, I finally said in a soft voice. I could see smiles all around the table. And what else, dear? And I want you to take me to the clinic and ask for help in. I am not sure if I ever finished the sentence. Suddenly it was tears and hugs all around the table. I am sure the few who were at other tables were wondering what was going on. All I knew is that by my finally saying a few words had forever changed the direction my growing up would take.